All right, Nigeria has been recording huge progress in its fight against illicit drug trafficking and drug abuse since Brigadier General Muhammad Buba Marwa retired, took over the leadership of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency. The agency has been breaking drug seizures and high-profile arrests. Weeks back, the NDLEA recorded a historic feat that when he uncovered a warehouse in Lagos where illicit drugs worth billions of naira were stored. The agency has since then continued to bust drug cartels and apprehend barons who once seemed invincible. The latest is the arrest of 52-year-old Ugochukwu Chukwukadibia, chairman of Automation Motors Limited. According to the NDLEA, one of Chukwukadibia's 6 mansions at Victoria Garden City, Lagos, was raided by its operatives, leading to the recovery of 13 million pills of tramadol worth 8.8 billion naira street value. This is the crux of our discussion next. And joining us now is the Director of Media and Advocacy at the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Femi Babafemi. Femi, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, now, Nigerians are quite happy that the NDLEA is recording lots of progress in its fight against illicit drug. That is not to say it is there yet. But talk to us in comparative terms. What is the difference between the NDLEA that we weren't hearing about and the NDLEA now that seem to be everywhere, whether it is Kaduna or Lagos or Benin or Ibadan or Benue, and all of that? What's the difference? What has changed?
Well, I would say basically the paradigm shift has largely been as a result of the leadership of the agency at the moment, especially from January 2021 till date. You will recall Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Marwa was appointed then to head the agency. And from the word go, he made it clear that he's here to make an impact. And so he needs the workforce, everybody, the officers and men of the agency to work along with him. And one of the first things he did was also to see to their welfare by first motivating them through the promotion of more than 70% of the entire workforce, and beyond that, paying a lot of the allowances that had not been paid for years, as well as some other issues like insurance cover, and all of these actually motivate, because it's the same, it's the same officers and men he met on ground that he's been working with since then. But I think he has largely provided good and competent leadership, someone who is always on top of the game 24/7. When I say 24/7, I mean every hour of the day, around the clock, on the phone, coordinating affairs across all the commands of the agency. And he's also been worried by the result of the 2018 National Drug Survey, which paints a very grim picture of the drug situation in Nigeria, with 14.3 million persons said to have abused illicit substances, which amount to 14.4% prevalence rate, which is 3 times the global average. That for him, it's unacceptable, and he will do all within his power, working with other stakeholders to ensure that we turn the tide. And that's why he's been all out to not only go after the moles on the streets, but as well as go after the source where all of these things are coming out. These are the cartels, the barons behind all the illicit substances we're finding everywhere. For him, he believes when the barons are taken out of circulation, then it's very easy, it's much more easier to mop up all the illicit substances out there, because the source would have been plugged. That is where all of these things are coming in their millions and thousands.
All right. Now, how challenging or otherwise has it been getting to the barons themselves? And also talk to us about agency collaboration or collaboration with stakeholders, like you rightly mentioned. How has that been with regards to achieving the results we have seen so far?
I'll tell you that has been well. It's not really come easy, but then we're on top of it. First, to get to a baron, you need a lot of work. It's because these are people that build a lot of layers to shield themselves at the top there, so that they become faceless, they become anonymous. But then for us, we believe. With the help of intelligence, with the support of Nigerians themselves, as well as technology, all of these they are being unraveled at the moment. That to them is also a mystery, but then that is the issue. And beyond that, we also know that we can't do it all alone. We work with our local stakeholders, that is other security forces, the police, the military, especially NAVDAC, immigration, customs. We have quite a lot of stakeholders, including a lot of other MDAs back home in Nigeria and beyond Nigeria. In other jurisdictions, you have the Drug Enforcement Administration of the US, which played a very prominent role in the Ikorodu drug bust. That's the cocaine bust. The DEA was very much with us, providing technical support, and we also had the support of the military also in that operation, which also gave us support in terms of men to support us in case of any engagement from members of the cartel. Beyond that, we have the government of the UK, France, Germany, Saudi Arabia, quite a lot of other partners globally, and all of these are working together to give us the results Nigerians are seeing at the moment.
Give us more sense into how much these big breakthroughs mean for the NDLEA. If you look at the past 4 major breakthroughs, within a matter of, will I say, weeks or months now, we're made to understand that some of these high-profile, raids by the NDLEA spans to at least between 3 to 4 years, and that was obviously before the retired Brigadier General Marwa came on board at the agency. Tell us more about how this worked, administration after administration.
Yes. Now, like I said, when you have cartels that are headed by big barons, to get actually to the top, to the so-called masquerade behind the scene, it's not something that comes easy. It's not something that comes cheap because, like I said before, they build a lot of layers to shield themselves, so much so that even the people operating with them at the lower middle level, they may not even know who is actually running the stuff. And so for years, a lot of them have been so evasive, so anonymous, to the point that one of the first barons that was arrested by the Mara-led administration of the agency, that is just soon after he took over in 2021, the man has been on the run for 10 years. The agency has been looking for him for 10 years. And just within a few weeks after his assumption of leadership of the agency, we're able to get the man in. So that's a lot of effort. And from then, it's never been a dull moment. We've had, at that stage, we've had now almost more than 20 barons in our net who are either in our custody or facing trial in the courts at the moment. So all of this, there are quite a lot of work. For instance, even in the Ikorodu cocaine bust, that syndicate, that cartel has been on the watch list of the agency since 2018. Since 2018, until General Marwa said, no, if this kind of syndicate operates in Nigeria, then he must do everything possible to unravel them and get, because what you have there, it's not just, it's beyond what Nigeria can consume. It's actually for the international market. They already mapped out how all of those drugs were going to be shipped to Europe, to Asia, to America, to parts of Africa. So that all those processes were ongoing when the agency picked their trail again and succeeded in tracking them to that location.
All right, talk to us basically the way these things work, especially when it comes to tracing where these drugs are coming from. It is believed that some of them may not be made in Nigeria, but Nigeria being a hub where it is easily transported and distributed to other networks across the world, across the globe. Talk to where are all these coming from and where are they going, especially the inroads into Nigeria?
Well, there are countries we call the source countries. That is where the class A drugs, that is cocaine, heroin, all of that, are coming from. Like, I'm sorry to mention, if you talk of Brazil, talk of India, Pakistan, India and Pakistan, you have some of the pharmaceutical opioids coming from there, like especially the tramadol. That's the region where that comes from. But then if you look at some others, predominantly the one that we abuse here locally that our people consume, that is cannabis and the opioids. Cannabis were largely produced there, and even when with the concerted efforts of the agency to go to take the battle to them in the forest to destroy their farmlands, also they have been decapitated, substantially, so they cannot really produce that quantity they would like to push into the market. So they have also moved to importing through our neighbors, Ghana here, and then some through, from Canada and parts of the US where cannabis is allowed. We see them pushing all of this on consignment vehicles that they import and all of that. But unfortunately for them, we've been able to track those at the ports, making sure that they don't come into our streets and communities. And for those coming through Ghana also, and even Benin Republic, we've also been able to work with other security agencies, especially the Navy, the Customs, to also make sure that we don't allow them to come in. Our men, especially at the Lagos Command, they've been very effective at tracking them. We've seen seizure of thousands and hundreds of thousands of kilograms of that, especially those coming through from Ghana to the country. So those are the ones locally produced and consumed there. Then you also see the issue of methamphetamine, the crystal meth, where we had some issues, the outbreak in parts of the country towards the end of last year. All of that also ab initio were being imported into the country, but as of today, our own people have also learned how to produce, how to cook that. That is meth, which we know popularly as ukurumiri. And then, but then fortunately again, with the coming of General Mao, he indeed set up a task force, deployed quite a lot, substantial assets to go after the cartels. Those behind meth, and we've seen largely in recent times that their networks are being broken also because with the clandestine lab in VGC also, that was on July 30th this year, we've been able to unravel the man behind the one operating there, which he was actually operating for export, for local consumption and export. And then we've seen that one in Nise community in Anambra State also broken. So all of that, and even those that were imported also, we've seen a very huge seizure of that in Akwa Ibom. Our command in Akwa Ibom say 3 drums of that. That is more than 90 kg. Also, we intercepted in Akwa Ibom State. That was also for the international market. So all of this we're tracking, and we're working with also some of these source countries to also see how we can partner together to ensure that we put a lot of things in place at their end so as to make it difficult for these things coming into our own country. So all of this we're doing to ensure that we are able to block these substances from coming in from the source countries themselves.
Right. As much as effort is being put in place to ensure that this, substances do not get into the country, one wonders, how did they come in the first place? This magnitude of illicit drugs that you say is for the international market in the country, how did they make their way into the country in the first place? And that's on the one hand. Then on the other hand is, we have seen the arrest made that there are some foreigners who are part of the ring. How is the agency handling that aspect?
Well, for one, let me start with the second question. It doesn't matter whoever you are, whether you are a foreigner or you are a Nigerian. You commit a crime on our soil, you face the music here, and definitely, I believe that matter will be going to court very soon. So he is going to be facing trial here. It doesn't matter who he is and where he comes from. That is settled. And as to where how some of these things come in, even if you look at the best of, developed countries out there, they still have that challenge. It's a global challenge, and that's why we're working in partnership with other stakeholders, our international partners, to ensure to share intelligence on the movement of all of these things. So they do all manner of things. You just imagine in the US, it's the reports are out there, how these people were able to construct tunnels from Mexico into the US, not once, not twice, just because they needed to smuggle this, cocaine into the US. So they devised all sorts of means to ensure that they move these things around the world. And one of the ways in Nigeria that has been identified is through the waterways, which in the particular case of the cocaine, intelligence reveals that all of this, those stuffs were moved, transloaded from ship to, from bigger ship to on the water. So they do a manner of things to confuse security trail, to confuse those monitoring and what have you. But fortunately, we're able to get technical support from the USDA, and we're able to get trail them up till the time we're sure that these things are already in a particular location for us to strike.
Can you clarify for us, Mr. Babafemi, about on reports made that some of this, major boss by the NDLEA also came with revelations that senior officers of the agency connived with drug barons, providing cover for them in the past years before they were finally unraveled in this, intensified push by your agency to rid the country of drugs. What do you have to say in this regard about NDLEA cleaning house, its own house?
Well, I believe you said that is in the past, and I'm sure we are in the present at the moment.
No, I didn't say in the past. I didn't say in the past. Okay. How this breakthroughs came about? Could it have come by way of the NDLEA purging itself from what had happened up from the past and up till now? Shed more light on that.
Yes, I did say that with the leadership of General Mara at the agency, it's obvious. Quite a lot of people know his antecedents. There is someone that would always want to deliver on any assignment given to him. And in this particular case, with his current assignment, I also did say that when he came in, one of the first things he did was to motivate the workforce, the tools, the people that he will be using. And that has largely impacted on the morale of the officers and men of the agency to deliver. That is one. Two, you also see him extending relationships and building networks with other stakeholders, whether locally in Nigeria, that is with other security agencies, the DSS, the customs, the military. You would have seen his visits, pictures and visuals of his visits to the heads of all of these agencies to build partnership, to build working relationships. And beyond that, again, broadening the network of the agency with the international partners, to ensuring that we're able to get support from them, we're able to work hand in hand with them, share intelligence with them. They're able to also trust us enough to be able to share intelligence with us. And all of this have largely impacted on what you are seeing. So it's about a change or strategic leadership that is able to result into substantial results. That's exactly what you have seen.
But for me, are you saying that no officer was indicted in this bust?
Which bust?
In all these busts, has it been a matter
I'm
of
not.
just the... Right, carry on.
Absolutely, if there is anybody indicted for anything, we will not spare that person. That I can tell you. That I can assure you. People could imagine it. I mean, all manner of things and say all manner of things, but then it's beyond the reality of ground. That is not to say that in any human organization you will not find some black legs or whatever, but then they are timely dealt with. All those things are I'm aware quite a lot of people face some disciplinary measures, but then as far as the operations of the agency are concerned, the operations of the agencies is concerned, there is absolutely no room for anybody to compromise or to frustrate the work of the agency, because a lot of mechanisms are in place. That I can assure you, a lot of mechanisms are in place to ensure the integrity of the process.
All right, Fabi, we're running out of time, but let me ask you this. Recall when General Buba Marwa took over, he was, I'm talking the leadership of the NDLEA. He mentioned at the time that he's proposing that political office holders, people who are seeking political office, should go through drug tests. And that generated a lot of debate and conversation amongst Nigerians. How is that going right now? Is the NDLEA still pushing to have that done, as much as it is said that it's whether it was going to be a moral issue or it was going to be a legal issue, and all of that? Talk to us from that window.
Absolutely. That has never been dropped. That is a persuasion. And for us, we're not targeting a particular class. I think that was where the wrong perception actually came from initially. But now it's getting wider acceptability, because now we're working with the traditional institutions, our traditional rulers. We're working with community-based organizations to push this advocacy. We're pushing this through advocacy, not that there is an existing legal framework on ground yet. Yes, there is that possibility. But then what we are convinced is the fact that if we're able to put this in place, if everybody, starting from students who are going to school, if they know that they are going to undergo drug tests, they would stay away. There is that fear that, okay, if I get tested and I test positive, there is the possibility of something happening to me. Even the fear of stigma also will push a lot of them, would deter them from going into that. Beyond students, we also are asking that prospective couples, those that want to get married, they should also do this, because these days, the chairman of the agency, General Mara himself, has often said this. The nine people highly placed. Okay.
Mr. Babafemi, because of time, there are issues being raised with regards to the Korodu cocaine bust. A lot of questions being raised with regards to why the exhibit was burnt. If you could clear the air on that quickly.
Yeah, quickly, thank you. That's a very germane one. What was burnt the burning of the drug cocaine. Don't forget, this is the largest single seizure ever in Nigeria and probably in Africa. So the agency cannot afford to play around with that. And that was why the agency approached the court that this is too much for any country to warehouse, to store. And the Federal High Court in Lagos granted an order that so substantial part of this thing should be burned, should be destroyed, publicly destroyed. And a portion of that, which amounts to 27.5 kilograms, be kept secured for the prosecution of the case. And that was exactly what was done. One, it was done based on a valid court order. Two, not everything was destroyed as being insinuated. We have substantial part of that. That is, we have some remnant of that 27.5 kg, which is secure for the prosecution of the case. Beyond that, again, the public destruction was witnessed by the suspects. They were there live and direct. All of these, your men were there, your crew was there, they covered it. They, after witnessing it, they also signed the the destruction certificate to confirm the quantity that was brought there, the quantity that was destroyed, and what was left behind for the prosecution of the case. This thing was transparently done in the glue, in the public glare of everybody, both our traditional rulers, the media, non-governmental organizations, and even our international partners. This was transparently done, that I can assure you, and we are going ahead with the prosecution of the case to a logical conclusion.
Okay. Well, we have to leave it here now. Femi Babafemi, the Director of Media and Advocacy at the NDLEA, thank you very much for talking to us. And we thank you for what you're doing in cleaning up the streets, and we wish you well in all that you do.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
Great.
Good morning.
Thank
again.
you.
Good morning.
Right. Now, I think when it comes to what NDLEA should be, Nigeria, because if you listen to what Nigerians are saying on the streets regarding the feat that has been achieved by NDLEA, it tells you that a lot of work is going behind the scenes, especially from the point of NDLEA in all of these busts, especially when you're talking about people who, like he mentioned, some persons have been traced for the past 10 years, and others 5 years, others 2 years.
Yes.
And there's a story behind this, because when you look at the enormity of this monster before us, when we, in fact, we have them before us. We have them right in the society. It's not until, mad people are littering, or insane people littering the streets, the dangers of this bad habit, of these criminal acts are, very glaring and very, very worrying. So, for them to now go on all out every Sunday, I mean, it has become a trend, us, tracking arrests made by the NDLEA at airports, in farmlands, across. It has even gone beyond the airport busts now. They're just everywhere, and there just doesn't seem to be an end. It just gives you a sense on how big the market is, and, the work cut out for the agency.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So much has been done, and so much is still being done, and there is so much left to be done. We can only hope that after the tenure of Brigadier General Buba Marwa retired, we can sustain this fight against illicit drugs, because the menace of the abuse of drugs is beyond what we can really talk about here.
It's all right, especially when elections are coming. You know that so many young people will be involved in this process because they'll need some energy to do.
And even the link between drug use or drug abuse and,
Yes,
insurgency.
exactly.
Right.
All right.